Sorry, we're closed.
All right, guys, welcome back. Another episode here. Sorry we're closed. And I don't know what I'm going to say here. So we're just going to get right into it. Sean, I just want you to say, I know I said it this morning already when I came out of my room to get coffee, I really love that yellow shirt.
Well, thank you very much.
It's a really nice shirt. I really, really enjoy it. But anyway, so we were supposed to go to Western University this weekend to see the Mountaineers on Thursday for Baylor. And I'm going to be very blunt, Sean, because this is what we do on this podcast. West Virginia didn't do a great job. Didn't do a great job taking care of us. And I canceled the trip because I said, fuck off. This is why I'm an Alabama fan now. We need to tighten some things up over there, but once the Light Brothers get a hold of them, things will be tightened.
I don't think we were. We just weren't in communication with anybody that was going to actually pull legitimate strings. I mean, you really think about the people that are. It's too bad, but I don't think. I mean, you never know.
Chain of command needs to be better. If I have with all of my staff and certain things that I do, it is made very clear to them in certain situations when certain is like I don't know what I can give off the top of my head, but if like for example when I go out to dinner with John, the business partner, he is under specific instructions to when he meets people or when I meet people that there are certain criteria. If that criteria is met, they must be introduced. We need to do certain things. So if I am the athletic director and I'm doing these types of stuff, people need to know if we need to raise money here, we need to make sure that there's a possibility that we don't have opportunities past us, especially at West Virginia University.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I just don't think – I think those systems are in place. I don't think that they're in place from social media. I wonder how many places really have a system like that. I believe that schools like Alabama, I think you might see some with it, but I don't think that that's normal. I think what happened to us in those chain of events, I think that's normal. And
what I'm telling you is that my response to you is that those schools do not need that.
Okay.
West Virginia needs to use all access to them in order to become a perennial power. And today, social media being as fucking big as it is, just no excuse. Absolutely no excuse to not have systems in place to make sure that we're running on all cylinders.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Even people that DM Green Rock, like Brandon sends them to me if he thinks it's important.
Do you think how frequently in this guy's career, let's say he's been there for 4 years with Neil Brown, how frequently has something like this happened to him?
I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say 0 times.
So this is the first.
Mm-hmm. We fucked it up.
Well, thankfully, I don't think he actually did. I mean, he should have. There should be a chain of command. There should be like, hey, my man, like in my like meetings with my bosses, it's like, hey, by the way, like this was interesting. This came across my desk today. Should we do anything with this? Possible donor situation. But what we definitely have is a 9-to-5er who is burning the, checking in, checking out. I'm not here to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to cause any trouble. I'm not going to make any waves. I'm going to come in. I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to leave. That's what we had, and that's most of the world. And I just think that if we really wanted it, you just got to go through different channels.
Yep. Well, guy fucked it up, and I'm happy about it. So anyway, moving on to other business topics. Recently, as what?
Our fantasy football weekly notes have literally come out while we were recording our podcast in the last 3 podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We've been Wednesday pods. We have been Wednesday pods. You're right. Anyway. We obviously, as you guys all know, we talk a lot of social media on this podcast. We just kind of, me and Sean seemingly, as I described it earlier today, seemingly just have business discussions where me and him kind of go back and forth on certain things and record them. And so today, recently, things have come out with YouTube Shorts, which is YouTube's way of competing with TikTok. And that on January 1st, a affiliate program goes into place where, or a creator program actually goes into place where they're doing something very similar to how they do long form content, where there's going to be a ad revenue split of 65 or 55-45, 45 going to the creator, 55 going to YouTube for your the ads that are placed on your shorts. And that is very interesting, and the reason that's interesting is because TikTok is paying you pennies in comparison to do that. Now, that, and I heard Mr. Beast talk about it, where he was Mr. Beast and this other guy who I actually like to listen to on TikTok. I don't know his name, so I can't shout him out, but he was talking about how in this regard, people, will now, like new people, if they're choosing between one of the places to start making content, a lot of them are gonna choose YouTube now because that's a legitimate source of income. A lot of people make a ton of money off YouTube getting ads on their videos, and it's a legitimate source of income. And Shorts making 45% of whatever comes in. That could be again a legitimate source of income for people. So they're thinking that it's an actual. If TikTok doesn't adjust, it's an actual threat to TikTok. And every title of the Mr. Beast videos is Mr. Beast thinks TikTok's going to die. Yeah, he really doesn't say that.
He said in the interview, he's like, if TikTok decides to do a rev split, they're back on top.
Exactly. So they just have to adjust. Which TikTok was the first one to start paying creators, not including YouTube. YouTube obviously has been doing it for years, but in those other social media, I always think of YouTube kind of on a different.
It doesn't really fall as social media, right?
Right. It doesn't. Yeah. It just they don't. Yeah, it just doesn't feel the same as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
Yep, I agree.
So it has been paying, but TikTok was the first one of those other ones to start paying creators. And now YouTube has, I guess, probably maybe felt some pressure, so they've started now adapting. So now my two biggest platforms by far are, well, I wouldn't say biggest. I don't have a lot of followers on YouTube, which, guys, go sub to my YouTube. But I don't have a ton of career, but that's the ones I pay attention to the most. I start, as Sean knows. So, Sean, first off, do you think TikTok will adjust?
Well, I think that we'll have to see what transpires. I think traditionally platforms like TikTok, just companies in general, especially more established companies, are a little slower to adjust. They kind of wait for the threat to be there before, like right now, YouTube Shorts is nothing. I've explained this thing to probably 5 people over the last week since I listened to the Mr. Beast podcast, and I would say half of them have never heard of YouTube Shorts. So I think that there's no, like, if we look statistically, there's no current numbers. Like, there's buzz around YouTube Shorts right now, but the numbers don't like really pose a threat. It kind of reminds me of old Musical.ly. Like, we heard from like Gary Vee that Musical.ly was this new thing, which ended up with being right. It turned into TikTok, but it never really got off the ground. I remember another social media where like you share songs, never really got off the ground. And so obviously YouTube Shorts is completely different because YouTube is already so established and it's run by friggin' Google. So there's a big difference there. But I think that if TikTok adjusts, it's not going to be for a while until they see a dent in their profits. I think that's just the way most businesses are run.
Yeah. And we've seen TikTok adjust a little bit, but something you mentioned there, Sean, that with Google, and I know you didn't believe it at first, and still probably to a degree don't, but I heard a statistic, and I mentioned it to you maybe last week or so, how they said by like 2024, TikTok will be the most used search engine in the world.
Yeah.
And originally, so you guys can kind of get the inside look into me and Sean's conversation on our couch here, originally Sean was like, I don't believe that for a fucking second. And then we just kind of put it to the test. I was like, I search a lot of things on TikTok because it has been, Instagram is useless in that way. Mm-hmm. But like TikTok, I can actually look up like a couple keywords to a video, and those keywords might not even be in the caption. It's just what like is happening in the video, and they will bring me to the right video. I've almost never had to struggle to find the video, which is crazy. Same with songs. You just type in a couple lyrics, which I know Apple Music does, but same with songs. You type in a couple lyrics, and it's there. Me and Sean, to test the theory, we typed in how to unclog a drain, and right then and there was like a 30-second clip and real quick clips of how to do it. And we have that one guy that you love that said that didn't have a dad growing up, so now he's being that dad for people who don't have a dad and teaching them all these things. So it's there. And it's really easy to use, and everyone in the younger generation is using TikTok in a huge way, and that's kind of how they're getting assimilated into the
Great word.
into this world. It's funny. I never trust myself, so I always be like assimilated, and then I look directly at you. Okay, you didn't make any faces. Okay, it works. But get assimilated into this world. And really the only thing that people use, like, I don't ever go to google.com because you don't have to nowadays. You just go to your Safari on and you just type in it right immediately, which is a great invention. I love that. But other than that, like anytime I'm looking up something, I'm going to TikTok. So it's I never thought TikTok would become a big search engine, but it's kind of becoming a huge search engine. So it's not only competing with YouTube, it's competing with its parent company, Google, which I don't know if anyone saw coming.
Well, I mean, I certainly didn't. I never thought of it as a search engine. I was surprised to see how it came out when we searched how to unclog a drain. I've never searched anything on there. And I did see the whole thing about how they're allowing you to SEO the captions on TikTok now, which I did think was interesting. But here's the thing. Like when we talk about YouTube Shorts and versus TikTok, well, actually, I have a question for you because I think that this was kind of, as I was, yesterday I'm sitting there like trying to decide like my social strategy and how I'm going to go about this. And one of the questions in my head was like, which platform, if you could pick any of them, which platform would you most want to be famous on?
Okay. That's actually going to be a big discussion probably. So let me just throw this last statistic at you to close up that loop.
Okay.
According to Google, and this is a article from moneycontrol.com, which seems interesting, but moneycontrol.com, September 20th, 2022, said in our studies, something like 40% of young people, which is Gen Z members is what they're classifying that as, when they're looking for a place for lunch, they don't go to Google Maps or search, they go to TikTok. A place for lunch.
I mean, what would you type in?
I really don't fucking know, to be honest with you, Sean. Let's see. I'm just going to go. Let's test it on air here. I'm just going to go discover. I'm on TikTok. Lunch places. This is exactly what I would type into Google. Lunch places in Hoboken. It pops up. And then I got a video here. This is they're talking about the Ainsworth, which is a place in town. Let's see if they do any other places. This is not a really well done video, but
okay. So I went to a little bit deeper of a test.
Okay.
Lunch places in Colts Neck.
Is it up?
First thing, Delicious Orchards. Second thing,
That's
a brewery.
Huddies.
Third
that's
is
our
the
neighbors
French
probably, right?
Market. Yeah, no, I don't see any Huddies yet. Colts Neck
there
Golf Club.
So there is places, which is, and that is so you guys know back home, not back home, where you're listening to this, that those of you that aren't from New Jersey that don't know Colts Neck, very small town. Not
It's
many
like a
people
normal
live
town that people grow up in.
Yeah, not a lot of people live there, and it's the town that me and Sean grew up in. So to have that, I mean, Hoboken, you're right. That's a really good test because Hoboken, such a big city, although it's not, it's a very popular city. So there is obviously more than likely going to be videos. I mean, if for nothing else than from Hoboken Girl. But to have it for Colts Neck that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
that is.
So I'm surprised, but then again, I'm not. But I also wanted to just point out the caveat that you looked this up on Google.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Let's see. If I will say I don't look up statistics anywhere else. But that was the other thing with and also I'm not part of Gen Z, so I'm not part of this study. But it is. Listen, I don't think we'd be foolish. I guess we wouldn't be foolish. There's been bigger companies that have fallen than Google, but
well, Mr. Beast was saying this. He was like one of the things I'm most curious about is like at what point do we become the boomers where like we're now like we're behind the times, like what's the fulcrum? And I've always thought that like at what point in technology do we just stop trying, or we've always been with technology is it going to be a next level thing? They were talking about this Neuralink chip they put in your head that can do all sorts of stuff. Like, oh, I don't want that, but maybe the kids are all about the Neuralinks and stuff like that.
Maybe the kids.
Yeah.
All right. Going to what social media platform would I most want to be famous on? So let's break it down here a little bit. Instagram is still seen as the toughest to become famous on.
Okay.
So that's a positive over there.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, I think, is the number one social media platform. So that's a positive over there. YouTube, we're just not talking about ad revenue you can go get from yourself as with an agent and stuff like that. So YouTube, just from the straight platform, is the one that pays you the most. Like if you're Mr. Beast is supposedly $1 billion man or soon to be, and so there's positives to each. If I had to pick one right now to be huge on, I think I would lean towards YouTube because I think I just think that like that's maybe I wouldn't. It's down between YouTube and TikTok. Instagram is not even in the same discussion, in my opinion. It's neck and neck there with YouTube and TikTok. It's tough for me to make a choice. If I had gun to my head right now, I'd pick YouTube. If for no other reason that I'm guaranteed to make some good money over there, being huge there. Whereas TikTok, I'm going to make some money, but I'm going to have to go outside of the app to do so.
So I feel the same. I'm YouTube all the way. And I think the reason I picked YouTube was because I think being a YouTuber, famous on YouTube, is the most like legitimately famous. Like I don't think that like if you're Insta famous, like technically you're already Insta famous, if TikTok famous, like that has a certain connotation to it as well. But I think that YouTube is like the most traditional fame of being on a screen in front of people. And with Apple TV and stuff, like I watch YouTube like it's Netflix. The videos are shorter most of the time, but not always. But I literally watch it like it's Netflix. I watch documentaries. I watch comedy specials. I watch television shows. I have favorite channels that I go watch. I think it's the most legitimate there. I think at the same time, and this is the reason that I'm very interested in TikTok or interested in YouTube over TikTok, is because from a business standpoint, it is the easiest. Probably besides a blog, like Medium, I think is the easiest to monetize. Just doesn't have the traffic. I think it's the easiest of the popular platforms to monetize and build a brand and build a business. I think it's the hardest to create content for, but I think it is the best one for that. And even to the sense of, I don't know if it was you that I was telling this to. I think I might have been saying it in my community call yesterday, but I created smart links from my CRM to put unique smart tracking links on TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Medium, and Facebook and Instagram, all my platforms. So, and each one like tracks how many clicks it gets, kind of like what we did on TikTok for this thing. And by far, not even close, the most clicks I got from one of those smart links was on Medium.com. So most people coming from my content, Medium, if you don't know, it was crazy you don't know, is like a social media blogging website. I can't believe they still exist. That I don't understand how they're making money, but anyway, like I'm getting the most from that. Next most was Instagram. Next most was LinkedIn, and behind that was TikTok. And I have like 27,000 followers on TikTok. I'm 5,000 on Instagram, and like I'm not even close anywhere else. So like TikTok, I'm seeing that like I'm getting traffic, I'm getting followers, but people like aren't being funneled into where I need them to be funneled into. Whereas YouTube, there's all sorts of different ways that you can do that. It's a little bit more organic, a little bit easier to do. And I think with the YouTube Shorts and having that as part of the algorithm will only assist your ability to grow there. So I think that it just adds to the cachet of YouTube, and I think YouTube for me is top of the chart.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just YouTube, the way it works. Like, I mean, we just had like on average we get like, let's say 150 to 250, probably 200 to 250 in the first. They always say, as far as listeners, you have to consider it not when the first comes out, but like the first 30 days, how many downloads it gets. That's what people go off of. And for us, the last one the most successful one that me and you have had was the one about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate was a big one. Obviously, he's a very well searched man right now. So on average we get about 200, 250 listeners per episode. This particular one got close to 600. So at 400, actually more than that, probably more like six to 700 listens, and 400 of them came from YouTube. People were watching the fuck out of that thing. At least watching the fuck for us, and it just has, like, when you talk about growing a podcast, as Mr. Beast was talking about, he said there's no better time to have a podcast than right now. And it's all about the clips, short form content, the clips. And although you might not have a ton of people watching it, although on YouTube if you get a good clip, that will help, according to him, the YouTube algorithm. They will push people to your long form immediately, and that's how you're supposed to take that. So that's helpful, of course. And then the clips on TikTok, obviously, when I posted clips of my as well as Smart Links, the TikTok clips and the Instagram links, TikTok was by far my number one as far as clicks there. But it didn't seem to translate like YouTube translates to people actually watching or listening to the long form. I'd get people to click, but maybe have a couple people that were, I guess, considered they listened to it. Not many. Like, I'd get maybe 75 clicks on a good clip from TikTok, but I didn't see 75 new listeners over on our or whatever Anchor,
right,
that does the distribution. But it seems as though on YouTube, like they convert pretty well for you. So
I think what people have to, I think if you're looking at this and having this real conversation, I think what you've really got to understand is that Google owns the internet. And, I've long heard that if you're going to have a digital footprint for your business, understand that Google is your daddy. Google is your landlord. Your ability to navigate Google is really the lifeblood of your business. It's changed a little bit with social media being around. But if you really can break down and understand like what's going on with Google, what they do, and like how powerful that really is, and how long they've been doing it, and you understand like this is YouTube, and YouTube is video Google. That's what it is. And there you have to understand that is going to be a legitimate force to be reckoned with in this entire landscape. TikTok is new. Instagram and Facebook are not as old as Google. Google's been doing this thing for a long time. They are the beasts. They are the industry. They are the they are the establishment on the internet. So I think anything that they do, they never. Here's the other side of it, right? They never did anything about Instagram. They never did anything like that. Never did a Facebook. Never competed there. I guess they did Google Plus, right? Whatever the heck that
Well,
was.
also, I mean, theoretically, before we start that conversation, this episode is brought to you by well, it's not brought to you by Sorry Close. We are Sorry Close. It's brought to you by our friends over at WynnBET. WynnBET is bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Whether you're a recreational player or a serious handicapper, WynnBET is your ticket to every exciting wager, from straight bets to parlays, teasers, and any exotic proposition wager you can dream up. Sign up today and use promo code XSWC1, and after placing your first $100 wager, you receive $100 to bet with. There is also a $50 casino bonus for those in New Jersey and Michigan as a first-time player. Again, the promo code is XSWC1. There's no better way to enjoy sports than with some extra winnings in your pocket to use for all your favorite bets. Betting is a team sport. Join the WynnBET team and bet with the best. Our service team certain conditions at WynnBET.com. Must 21 to participate. Only available Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. That begs the question, Sean, and is actually my next question that I was going to do once you took a pause in that. I was going to read the ad, and I was going to ask you this question. If you see this report out, I'm sure they saw it, and there's no way they didn't. I mean, because Google is a publicly traded company, so I bet you when the report came out, their stock got hit, because that's just how human psychology works in this world. They see even one bad report, people are selling Google. So if you're Google, they probably have already even addressed the report publicly because they're a publicly traded company. But if you're Google, are you making any changes? Are you even having discussions about, hey, listen, this seems as though Gen Z, and they probably do their own studies because they probably don't rely on moneycontrol.com, but do their own studies to see if this is a trend. Let's say they've confirmed this is a little bit of a trend. Gen Zers seemed 40% of Gen Zs in that ballpark seem to, at least for some searches, prefer TikTok over Google. How do we adjust, do we adjust to maintain our absolute pure dominance that we've had for the last 2 decades on the internet?
Well,
Because, Sean, could you not also make the argument that although they did nothing, quote unquote, about Instagram or so, could you not make the argument buying YouTube was not in a way putting a social media arm of your business under your umbrella?
Certainly. You could definitely do that. I think that if in a good business, like, you're looking at everything, I think if that's real and that's a real statistic, that is a dent, no doubt, in your search market. You are the search king. So I definitely think that addressing that is something that I would look into, and they are with YouTube Shorts. Look, I think that you look at any business that's been around for a long time. There are, you got to maintain that moat, right? You got to maintain you got to maintain it somehow. And the longer you've been around, the more established you are, the slower you end up moving. And it's easier for the new guys with new innovations and stuff to knock you off. So I'm definitely looking at it. I'm definitely, if the statistics add up and it's viable now, then yes, absolutely, I'm going to do something about it. But I think I look at Amazon. Like, Amazon's the king of this, right? Like, they have an idea, they make a decision on something and they go for it. They got a lot of failed products. Remember they had the Fire Phone for a little bit there, right? They just, well, screw it, I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to try it. So I love that model, and Google's certainly big enough to play that game. So that's how I would be approaching it if I was Google.
I find it, Google has such a stranglehold, and it always has, over the internet. I remember when you first started your business, I think you were kind of the first one that kind of made me think of it that way. When you were talking about, it's like, listen, the fucking Google just owns me. Like, if I can't get if I can't get on the first page of Google, like, no one's even seeing my shit. And then I never thought of it, but I was like, you're right. I never fucking go to the second page of Google. Yeah. I think the last time I went to the second page of Google was to see more search results on myself.
Same.
Yeah,
you're looking for something really deep. Yeah.
So, like, it's impressive what Google has done. Again, we've seen bigger companies fail. Google would be a behemoth of a fail. They're not anywhere near failing, but one, like I said, they have to address it. solely because they're a publicly traded company. They just can't. They have a board of directors that I'm sure have already put not pressure, but have asked questions. Hey, listen, do we think this is a legitimate threat? Do we think something needs to be done here? Do we need to address anything? I'm sure that has thought. I bet you they've even considered fucking trying to buy TikTok. They have so much capital behind them. Let's stop competing. Let's just put it on the umbrella. Be the old Procter and Gamble of social media companies. But if I'm them, you're right. There has to be some type of recognition that this is happening, and then from there you try to see if there's anything really that you can do in order to disrupt that. As they say, I actually saw a TikTok. Speaking of disrupting, this is completely off topic, but I saw a TikTok yesterday about this guy who works for he's making a joke. It's a parody video, but he made a joke about how he was working for a startup spice delivery company.
Okay.
He was like, anyone that starts for a startup is like talks this way, and he was like, see what this is a disruption to the spice space. Blah, 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 where we hand pick spices to deliver you each month. And the person like chimes in, oh, so you're a spice delivery company. No. I can see how you would think that. But this is a disruption to the spice space.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is every startup ever.
Disruption is such a buzzword in the entrepreneur space.
Yeah, and space is a buzzword to me sometimes. You say the space. Like, I go to dinners and I'll say like, oh yeah, well in the restaurant space. I'm like, guy, I sound like such a douche right now.
I hear people say, yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I was like, doesn't that mean you're just not very good at it? Just starting a million different businesses.
Yeah, no, you can only be serial entrepreneur if you're Elon Musk.
Yeah, that guy for sure.
Who I have heard, speaking of that, I watched a Kevin O'Leary Kevin O'Leary TikTok yesterday, where he was talking about how he was like, Elon is severely overpaying for this company, and now he's like, obviously now
Twitter.
Yeah, he thinks it's worth like $10 or $12 a share, and he's buying it at 44. So he was like, this is severely overpaid. But he's like, something to consider when it comes to Elon is that Tesla is absolutely known for never spending $1 on marketing.
I know. I've been talking about this for months. It's Amazon, Tesla, Starbucks, and Chipotle were all built with no marketing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know it was all those. But you have that. He hasn't built it. He's pretty much buying a marketing company here for himself. And the counter to that was like, hey, listen, like, he already has 50 million followers. Why does he need any more? Why does he need the company? And he's like, well, now he can control more. He doesn't have to worry about shit going awry for him and his company, and like Twitter going rogue and kicking you off. Like, he can control the narrative on this platform.
I don't think he's that calculated, but I think
he's extremely calculated.
I do too, but I don't think, not in this move, I don't think he is. But I could be wrong. I certainly could be wrong. But I want to say the quote was from Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos. This is an actual quote from Jeff Bezos. This is crazy. Think about this. Mm-hmm. He said, "Marketing is the price you pay when your product is unremarkable." I was like, damn, because in my world, I'm like, okay, like how do I attract customers to my business? And I'm like, well, I do the marketing and stuff like that. And then I'm like, wait a second, you're telling me that Amazon, Tesla, Chipotle, and Starbucks were built off of zero marketing? Have you ever seen a Starbucks commercial?
I've seen ads online, never a commercial.
Yeah.
I will say, I see AWS all the time on football.
Amazon Web Services. Well, so
Yeah.
I think that a lot of them are. I think some of them are marketing now, but most of them, I think, were built, from what I understand at least, were built off of no marketing. So I'm like, there is something that we're all missing about business here, about what you actually need to do to attract people. Like, somehow these companies are magnetically attracting people to their customers. I've honestly built a significant portion of my business is education on this to show people like at least how I kind of see that they have done this, and I could even see like Elon Musk buying Twitter is just months and months and months, if not years, of headlines and stories.
Yeah, no, I certainly could see that. I certainly could see him trying and just fucking be in the news. That seems like Elon's fucking move. But it is interesting. The one thing I will give you about that the marketing is the price you pay for an unremarkable product. Like I do when I compare it to my own businesses. So like McSwiggins, Green Rock. No one listens to this from Hoboken, so I can, even though we're not fine, I can just say it. Texas, Arizona, and 80 River, and Saku. Like Green Rock, I marketed Green Rock from our own social media just to keep people thinking about it.
Yeah,
that's all. I just want you to see things. I want you to just so you're when next weekend you're like, oh, let's go to Green Rock. You know, just keep seeing it. Whereas, like in 80 River, I'm trying to get in your face about it because I need to get people there. I need to get people to really think about that fucking thing. Like people are coming to Green Rock regardless because it's a great product. 80 River, I need to make that product, and then hopefully it does itself, which I do believe it will, based off of what what my strategy is over there. But like, it's definitely different. Not to say McSwiggins isn't a great product. I think McSwiggins does a great job, but I do think that I sometimes I'm like, well, we need to be a little bit more firm on our marketing over there because it's not like something that it seems like everyone fucking loves. So I'll give you that. I think that, in like I said, when now you're at a certain point where Amazon, I think, just make sure we're seeing it. Make sure eyeballs are seeing us. Just keep remembering us. Keep remembering us. So next time you go, and then you go to make a website, right? That's what Amazon Web Services is, right?
Bro, I don't know what Amazon Webs. I've looked this up a million times. I think it's some sort of Salesforce, CRM, HubSpot thing. But I literally looked it up because I was like, I want to see what this is. A lot of people are using it. I actually saw an article that said that Amazon Web Services is a way for them to subsidize the takeover of the businesses using Amazon Web Services. And I was like, holy shit, like this actually looks legit.
Jeff Bezos, in a TikTok this morning that I saw, said that he's got billions of failures, but Amazon Web Services, Kindle, and the thing that's in front of me here that I can't say the name. Can you say it for everyone?
Alexa.
All four of those products have made up for any failure he's ever had. So whatever it is, Sean, it's doing well for him.
Well, it is, but I've in my research and like trying to figure out the way that they do it, I think the first way that they're doing it is they position themselves away in a very unique way away from everybody else in the marketplace. They offer like a really incredible customer experience, and they're just like buttoned up from top to bottom. And then I think they do a nice job of creating PR. Here, if you had to put money on it, right? I had $1,000. You got to put money on this. When Elon Musk smashed the window of the Cybertruck at like the tech fair or whatever, did he do that on purpose?
If I had it right, 100%, I had to put money on it right now.
Yeah,
I would say no, but I'm nervous.
Nobody
would
not
be
100%.
Yeah,
it has,
no.
It has
if he
served
said,
that company.
fucking,
I would never even heard of the Cybertruck if it wasn't for that thing.
Yeah, I certainly don't want. I don't think the Cybertruck looks cool, so it's not really my type of car. But I'll give you that. I'm nervous that he did it on purpose. If I'm putting money down on it, like I'm not feeling super confident. Like if Buick did it, I don't even know if Buick still exists. But if Buick did, I'd be like, I don't think so. I haven't seen a Buick in a long time.
I see Buicks, but they. I don't know. The old Buick LeSabre. Love that car.
I know.
A lot of good times in the LeSabre.
A lot of good times in the LeSabre. But I don't think he did it on purpose. But I wouldn't be super surprised.
Buick still exists.
Buick still exists. Are they owned by a parent company?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever. But on top of that, another TikTok that I saw, as I reference everything from TikTok apparently, another TikTok that I saw, and you're talking about these big purchases that these companies make or Elon makes.
General Motors
Makes sense. If you talk about these companies that these make and how they afford, because it's very frustrating to me when I when I see things online about how billionaires, and me and you have talked about this, Sean, where billionaires are hated upon and how could you have this much cash, all this stuff. They don't have any fucking cash. All they have is these stocks that go up and down, and that's why their net worth. It's not like when Facebook tumbles 50%, that they go into Zuckerberg's bank account and take $40 billion out.
Oh no, not my Wells Fargo. Please take it from my checking.
Yes, like, I gotta move some money around with my checkings and my savings works. Like, that's not how that works. And I think we have an intelligent enough listener base that they know that, but it's all in stock for the most part. Like 99% of all. I think Warren Buffett said that I think it's at least 90% of his net worth is tied up in stock. He doesn't have access to it. It's just he just doesn't have it. And so what I learned recently is how these guys go out and make these huge purchases without liquidating their stock. Because if Warren Buffett, if Elon Musk, if these big guys, Bezos, liquidated their stock, one, they're not going to get a buyer because it's too much money. And anyone that has the money, these big private equity firms that have the money and hedge funds that would go and buy this, like, wait. Why are you selling?
Whoa. Don't you have some pretty inside knowledge here?
Yeah.
You're telling me you're going to go buy a Buick with this?
There's no way this fucking guy's getting a little Sabre. But that is... People don't realize how handcuffed these guys actually are when it comes to liquidating their stocks. So what they do is they have these stock portfolios of 80 billion, and what most banks will do, they'll lend you with that as collateral, and they'll lend up to 70% of what you own. So if, say, you had 100 billion in Tesla stock, they'll give you 70 billion to go do something with. And these guys are smart enough to not go get bankrupt. They'll go buy an asset, a cash-producing asset that pays off this loan for them. That they don't have to work. They're not paying it out of their pocket. It's going to pay off them for it. It's probably going to throw a profit off on top of it. That's going to make them even richer. And that's how they go do these things. That's how they go buy these huge fucking corporations or these, let's say, I'm sure what's his face, the guy that bought that. Who will eventually buy that $250 million apartment in Manhattan. I'm sure they'll be part of a much larger transaction for him that he's just going to attach this to. So
you tell me he's not walking in there going, okay, $250 million. Who do I make that out to?
So, like, this is how they're doing these things, which is interesting because I have, in my own world, in the restaurant world, I haven't really added to my stock portfolio in a long time, Sean, which I don't like. I like to add to it, but in my world, a lot of the cash that I come in goes into another investment, just not in the stock portfolio. It goes into a restaurant, right? So, like, I am still investing my money, just not in the traditional sense. So now what I've been researching lately is, can I borrow against my restaurant group? Is that because notoriously banks fucking hate restaurants? So, like, can I borrow against that? And if I can't, do I need to be taking a lot of my cash and putting it into the stock portfolio so that it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows, and then I can borrow against that to go do what I need to do? It doesn't need my personal or does my business. Like, how do I go about doing that? And how do I manipulate my cash? Because as I actually talked to Brian O'Connor this weekend, and his girlfriend,
the great hedge fund investor.
Yes, his girlfriend, who is in finance, she understands a lot of the mechanisms behind this because she does this for a living. And we were explaining to him that I am in a tremendous amount of debt. And Brian asked me when I'm going to get out of it. And I said, never. I'm just going to get more and more debt. I plan to be in an outrageous amount of debt my entire life. But I'm buying assets.
Real Robert Kiyosaki over here.
Yeah, but I'm buying assets that pay off that debt for me. rather than me coming out of my bank account, giving it the old man. But that's how I have to do this. But right now I can only seller finance deals. I can't go to a bank really right now. So it's like, how do I legitimize my restaurant group in a way that I can start borrowing against it and then go and buy a bunch more places? Any thoughts?
Well, look, I don't. That's not my world. That's just your cup of tea. I don't know much about it. But what I'll say is this: especially for the people who are listening, if you're interested in stuff, like what you're talking about there is interesting to me. And if you're in my shoes, which you're probably, most people listening are probably in my shoes, where it's like, whoa, what's going on here? My most viral TikTok of all time is just kind of talking about Ray Dalio, billionaire hedge fund investor, like somebody I really admire, respect. Like, that's probably why he, shouted me out on TikTok. But my most viral video is just me being like, look, like, this is crazy that this guy who did all this is just giving free advice out on TikTok. And I think one of the reasons that it's become as viral as it has become is because there are all of these haters. I would say 90% of the comments in there are people like saying like, you're an idiot, Sean. There's no way he's giving you free advice. And then they spew their thoughts on the rich and the famous and the billionaires. And look, I don't know, certainly, he might, he may not be as nice as he seems on TikTok. But the comments are so absurd. He's trying to scare you so he can move the market. And I'm like, what the hell do you think is going on? Like, are you that stupid? Like, people are like, you are so wrong. You are so naive to think that. And I'm like, you are so clueless as to what's going on. And just the comment thread, like, if you want a look into the way that the people of the United States, people of the world operate, you go through those comments and just see how misguided, how naive, how clueless people are about it's just like blindly hating rich people, which is a joke, man. Like, it's like you can't get rich without screwing people over, which is a joke. And personally, I find it to be unfortunate. I find it to be a damn shame that this is the way that people are. But it's the way that people always have been, and it's the way that people always will be. It's something that I've come to learn. It's a really great essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's called History. And basically what he outlines in this essay is that all human beings have the same neuroanatomy. We have the same functions, like our cells interact the same way. My neurons interact the same way that yours do. They have the same exact functions. Meaning that there can't really be that much difference in how we think. Like, the thoughts that I have are probably the thoughts that you have. Maybe some variation in, based on my experience or whatnot, but it's largely the same across the board. All humans are basically the same. They all are built the same, and they all operate, give or take, roughly the exact same. And when you see stuff like this, you're like, this is how the world thinks, and this is why so few people end up elevating to that level, because so few people are able to get out of that and see and like find their way out of just that common human construction. And I feel bad for those people. It's you're missing out. You're missing out big time.
Yeah, you certainly are. The thing that I don't like I'm not on the Gary Vee train that everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. I'm not on the Gary Vee train that everyone can be an entrepreneur, because I just don't think people have the appetite for risk that they need to in order to be able to do so. Now, with that being said, I can't get on board with people hating people that go out and do this. There's actually an interesting I posted about the tipping culture in the United States, which is not the same as across the world. And I spoke about it in a way where it said, hey, listen, right now we pay our workers $5.13 an hour. I think it goes up one more dollar next year, and then it tapers off again. But $5.13 an hour, and then they get tips. If they don't make at least minimum wage on their tips, I have to front the difference. That's how the restaurant industry works. I told people very basically that if you decide that I have to pay someone $15 an hour, you go, first off, you're going to hurt the employee because they're going to make less because tips go away now. But on top of that, our cost now goes up, right? So our fixed cost, our fixed monthly cost is going to go higher because I now have to pay them this. Tips go away. That money is taken out because you guys no longer have to do so. So tips are taken out of the pool. That's not working. So now my fixed cost goes higher. So if I want to make the same money, my prices have to be raised. Now you could always say, "Oh, stop being fucking greedy. Keep your prices down." Okay, but now if the reward is not reflective of the risk I'm taking for starting this business, why is anyone going to do it? I will give them, it's intriguing that other countries don't do it this way, and I have started to look into why they don't and how they get away with it. Are they just making less money? Is it somehow de-risked in Europe for somehow? Is there actually tips? Are you guys just fucking saying that? Like, what is it that Europe can do that's different than the United States? Is food and liquor even cheaper over there? Because, a lot of stuff is made in Europe, especially in the liquor world. Is it even cheaper over there where they are still making the same money because cost of goods sold, your fixed cost of goods sold is cheaper. All of those things I'm interested in looking into because a lot of people talk about that's everyone's counter to me is Europe. And so I'm curious about that. But just to hate me because I provided a product to you that you're willing to pay this much money for and tip your servers on top of it, I don't think that's a reasonable reason to hate.
They're just naive. They don't understand. Business is math. Business is numbers. If the numbers don't work, then you lose.
Yes.
It's not about me like, oh, I'm the business owner, so I can be nice.
Well, again,
no.
I think, no, it's not about being nice. Fuck that. But I really don't think people take into consideration that risk-reward relationship.
Yeah, it's a good Ben Shapiro video of the guy he's a pencil factory worker.
Yes.
And,
very similar to that. Very similar to the pencil factory worker. And, let's say I'm not going to give real numbers, but let's say, for example, Green Rock's top line number is $1 million a year. That's gross. That's the amount of money that we have come in a single year. Let's say our cost of goods sold hovers around 15%, so that's $150,000 that I'm paying. I have to pay. Let's say my labor is another 15%, so that's $300,000 out now. Let's say rent is rent in Hoboken is very expensive, so I can tell you I won't tell you my actual, but it's about, let's say, $200K. So now I'm at $500,000 right there, just off the rip, nothing else included. That means nothing else goes wrong. I'm probably forgetting things that I have to pay for that I can't remember quite off the top of my head. But water bill. I think every quarter our water bill is like $3,000. So that's another 15 grand. So like it just adds up. And now, if the restaurant industry is known to be a risky one, but if now my risk reward there falls off, well, maybe I don't want to do that. The reason people start restaurants is because the reward is so high. The risk is very high as well, but the reward is so high. It's like, oh, let me give this a shot because the reward matches the risk, and I can go make a ton of money if I do this right. And I can go now. I see the gold, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, rather than I'm taking all this risk and there's some bronze over there. Like not. Why am I gonna trek to the top of Mount Everest for I don't want bronze. Bronze sucks. I want gold. So I think people often forget that and just look at us as being like these greedy motherfuckers when it's like, no, guy, I have to see this kind of return in order to take this big of a risk with my own money. I took my bank account to zero for Green Rock and then I borrowed money. So in order to do that, in order to put myself in that kind of position, there has to be a great return. Otherwise, why the hell would I ever do it?
Yeah.
And now all your restaurants go bye-bye. No, they won't, but I still don't mind educating people. So all your restaurants go bye-bye. Anything you love is gone because why were people taking these risks? It doesn't make any sense for them. So I just think people need to really take into consideration that risk-reward relationship when talking about people who become billionaires. They took a tremendous amount of risk to get there. and they're in a tremendous amount of debt that you start sweating for your mortgage debt. These guys, go look at Amazon's fucking balance sheet. They're in billions of dollars in debt. Like that's just the way the world works, and unfortunately people don't realize that, and some will, and some will take advantage of it, but others will not. And again, I have no problem with you working your 9 to 5, being very comfortable in that life and enjoying that life. I don't give a shit what you do, but like don't hate on me because I took a ton of risk and I had a huge appetite for risk and ended up working out for me. I can't get on board with that. But I will say, when you talked about the neurons, and this is where how long was this podcast so far? Oh, we're doing great. And I had an interesting. You know what it made me think of?
What?
Is that TikTok? Nothing makes fucking sense. So at the end of the, do you have anything else to add? Do you want to talk about any of the sports stuff?
Just no big deal.
You know what I really like, and I'll say it on live on the podcast, is you are already growing an audience in the business community.
Yeah. I
am known as the baseball guy, or the Mike Trout strikeout guy, and I really am trying to still push some of my business stuff into the world. That's what I'm passionate about now, and this is a good area for me to really start and have these clips to be able to put out there as people start to learn a little bit more about me. I know some of you at home probably came for our sports podcast, but unfortunately, I hope you like business too. But speaking of sports, WynnBET is bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Get in all your favorite teams, players, and sports, from boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport. They have what you need to win. Sign up today and use promo code XSWC1. And after placing your first $100 wager, you receive $100 to bet with. There is also a $50 casino bonus for those in New Jersey and Michigan as a first-time player. Again, the promo code is XSWC1. Offer subject to change from the condition of WynnBET.com. Must be 21 to participate. Only available in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. And with that, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the show Sunday Morning, but Sunday Morning leaves you with usually nature sounds and a view in nature. I will leave you with that funny clip that I just mentioned on TikTok that this reminded me of Sean. It's a really funny clip. I don't know the comedian's name, but he says it's really, really funny.
He's good.
Yeah, it's a really funny clip about how nothing makes sense in this world and how people just blindly accept certain things. So with that, we will see you guys next time. Enjoy the clip.
Nothing makes fucking sense. Life makes no sense. You're on a planet right now. You think you're in America? Zoom out. You're on a space rock floating in nothingness, infinite nothingness, and the infinite nothingness is expanding. That means endlessness is getting bigger. That makes no fucking sense. We all just act like it's normal. Like, oh, everything's made of molecules. Okay. Got it. I'll never think about that again. I'm made of molecules, you're made of molecules, the air between us, it's all made of molecules. That makes no fucking sense. These molecules know they're molecules. These molecules are like, oh, I'm Pete. That doesn't make any sense. This stool is made of molecules, the same molecules in my hand. In fact, some of the molecules in this stool went into me while I've been talking, and some that were me have gone into this stool. And you know, when I knock these molecules into these molecules, when we ask science why don't they go through each other, you know what the answer is? We don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, we're closed.